remember that? It doesn't seem that long ago, but it has been more than 2 years since we watched George Floyd murdered in Minneapolis. It was the summer of 2020 that protests turned America and indeed the world upside down. In the height of the pandemic, thousands of protesters marched, knelt, and even blocked highways to stand in solidarity with the Floyd family and the Minneapolis community. Video of a bystander recorded Officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, ignoring Floyd's cries for help until he died. The demonstrations were designed to get the attention of leaders that enough was enough and that the U.S. finally needed comprehensive change in policing. Despite some violence, studies showed that more than 93% of demonstrations were peaceful. And to our surprise, the protests worked because the nation responded and they promised change. That's right, they promised change. According to a McKinsey report released in December of 2020, more than 1,100 organizations pledged $200 billion to racial justice initiatives between June 2020 and May 2021. The report showed that nearly 90% of those pledges came from financial institutions. The analysis was updated on the 1-year anniversary of Floyd's death. Well, it's now time to show us the money. Joining me now is Dr. Shaun Harper. He is a Provost Professor at the University of Southern California. He's also the founder and executive director of the university's Race and Equity Center. My brother, welcome to theGrio. We are happy to have you.
Thanks for having me, and congratulations on this new show.
No, thank you. We saw in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder something unprecedented. But these companies aren't just giving money away, right? They actually want it paid back. I mean, walk us through exactly what these pledges are and what's going on, because it's a little more complicated than we thought.
Sure. I don't know if it was peer pressure or mere jumping on a bandwagon, but lots of companies and the executives who lead them, and it's worth noting that these are mostly white male executives, came to the table and made headline-grabbing announcements that they were giving $100 million over here, $1 billion over there. And as you rightly noted, all of that added up to more than $200 billion pledged.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It's unprecedented. We hadn't seen it before. What we have seen before, though, is somebody making promises to Black folks that ultimately don't get fulfilled. I don't know if they think we're going to forget, but, you know, at this point, I and a chorus of others are still asking for our 40 acres, a mule, and the $200 billion that was pledged in the name of racial justice and in the name of George Floyd.
This is really stunning on two levels. One, like you said, there's the unprecedented number of pledges that were made, the unprecedented amount of money that was promised. But that's, as the kids say, just cap if you're not giving people the actual checks. It allows companies to look good. It allows them to enhance their brands. They can all say, we pledge this amount and we're giving that amount. Do you think that it's as simple as they lied and said they were going to do it and weren't? Or do you think they changed their mind? Did the economy collapse? I mean, how do you make sense of how a company can make, or anybody can make a promise and then not fulfill it?
Yeah, you know, I wrote a piece for Forbes in which I lay out 4 or 5 possibilities. It could be that, you know, folks are still trying to figure out what they're going to do with the money, right? Well, it has been 28 months at this point. It's time to figure it out. Or it could be that some, you know, just actually never intended to pay and they thought we were going to forget. Some leaders are saying, we don't know where to give the money. That is the part that is just absolutely most mind-boggling to me. Listen,
what does that even mean?
Listen, there's a whole water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi, where 82.5% of the population is Black. If you don't know where to send your George Floyd money, send it to Jackson.
Right.
Or send it to Morgan State University, or, you know, to HBCUs. And just, I don't know, there's just way too many racial justice, Black folks led organizations and community efforts and so on. So I think that that's an excuse, right?
What about let me ask you one more question on that before you go to the next point.
Sure.
Is there any part of this that is people saying, look, we were going to give it to Black Lives Matter, the organization, and because there's been so much fallout, there's been so much fuzziness, there's been so much debate, there's been so much accusation that we can't trust that anymore, so we're not doing it?
Nah, I'm not buying that, because if you were going to give it to Black Lives Matter, you would have given it to them in June 2020 when you
Mm,
made the announcement and you got the kudos for it before, all of the, more recent fallout. So, no, I'm pretty sure that that's not it, right?
okay.
Um, One thing that's worth noting, a lot of this money isn't real money, by the way. So,
When you say not real money, is this like you mean like Kanye's billions? Like I guess it's just a number.
no, what I mean is a disproportionate share of the billions came from big banks like JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America. And they made these pledges under the guise of affordable home ownership programs. And these are loans. These are loans to Black folks that
Mm.
ultimately those same corporations, those same big banks, they're not only going to make the money back that they pledged, but they're going to make even more money through the interest and the other sort of predatory activities that come along with giving mortgages to Black and brown folks. So in that way, it ain't real money.
Wow, that's so interesting. So when they say we're going to invest in Black communities and even Black housing, they're just saying, look, we're going to loan y'all money at a high interest rate, or even if it were market rate, it's still a profit. It's still a business. I mean, it would be like I totally get it. It would be like if I went to a homeless space and said, look, I'm going to help provide food for the homeless, and I just opened up a store and said y'all can buy all the food you want. Like
From your store.
from my store, right? That's not exactly a hookup. I mean,
Right.
they might need a store, but it's still not a hookup, and it's certainly not selfless. And I think that's an interesting thing. Talk to me about uh, the point you made earlier. You said what we have seen before is people making promises to Black communities and not fulfilling them. Can you imagine this happening to any other community?
No, we don't see this happening to any other communities, in part because those communities hold folks accountable for doing what they said they were going to do.
Mm,
That's where I think that we Black folks got to step up and demand transparency and accountability for those companies that made those pledges in the name of George Floyd and racial justice, and demand that they pay up. The trickery, Mark, as you know, of pledges is that they're typically time bound over, say, a 3-year, 4-year, or 5-year period, and then the clock runs out. And the corporation in this case gets to say, well, we put the money on the table and it was there, but nobody came looking for it. We Black folks got to go looking for the money, and we got to demand that they pay up.
Help us think through what it means to go looking for it, because there are a lot of people right now who watch this show who are grassroots organizers. Some have nonprofits. Some are part of big companies and want to push. They're the fly in the buttermilk. They're the Black person in that company that's trying to make the company act right. What do we do to get the companies to fulfill the promise that they made?
I think we have to build coalitions of elected officials, um, Black folks in communities, certainly people who lead youth serving and community organizations. Those coalitions have to, come together in a chorus calling for the accountability and the
Mm,
transparency, right? It can't be just like, one random Black dude over here or a sister over here, right? Just asking sort of one person at a time, where's the money? I think that we have to, speak in unified voices. I think we also have to write some open letters, right? We have to also hold people accountable on our social media platforms, right? That I'm a person who spends money with you. You said you were going to give $500 million to Black people. Well, I'm Black. Where's the money? We're not buying your
right.
stuff anymore until you show us the money. Those are just some examples that immediately come to mind.
Well, those are great examples. We have to apply pressure in every space, every method that we have at our disposal. And we have to craft some new ones. Dr. Shaun Harper, thank you so much for giving us some insight, putting a spotlight on this problem, but also offering some concrete solutions. That's why we appreciate you.